So, as you saw by the title of today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a story of Goddess Circe initiating Odysseus into her mysteries of life. This is an excerpt from my book, Where We Dream the Single Dream, something that I have written. It's an essay that I've actually wrote before I wrote the book. But in this essay, in this story, it's important because it shows that it is the divine feminine, what in the ancient times was known as the goddess. In other words, your intuitive mind, your intuition that initiates us into her mysteries of life. In other words, into our divinity or unity in divinity. And this is the way that the goddess Circe did for Odysseus, in that wonderful story of Homer, the Odyssey. And the Odyssey is a follow-up after the Trojan War. The Trojan War, it's symbolic of the war between the inner and the outer, if you like, and it's a war over romantic relationships. So in other words, over Helen. So this is symbolic of the when we're still looking for the missing half, if you like, outside of ourselves in society. Then we're really at war, we should say, in conflict with our inner self, with the soul. With Circe, if you like, with your inner companion in life, the self. And so Odysseus sets out on this adventure of coming home, and it takes him some 10 years of wandering around, getting lost on the sea. And finally he, in this story, in the story of Circe, he finds the island of the goddess, and she begins the process, or she initiates him into her mysteries. And this is the essay. I'm going to read probably the whole lot of it. We've got a new camera now, so it's a little longer. I can bore you with my videos a little longer now than before. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not for you. For me it is, because previously I was only limited to about 20 minutes, which is nice for the internet. People's attention span is not really that much longer anyway. But here we go. This is the excerpt that I wrote. This is an excerpt from my book, from Where We Dream the Single Dream. And this is what I wrote. She who can make known as the initiator into her mysteries of our shared humanity, the divinity, that we and all things and in this her Eden earth really are. She who can transform men from dominators and predators to equal partners in service to our shared community, holy earth. I'm going to explain she who can make known. That's an old way of calling the divine feminine. She who can make known your intuition. So, okay. So that's what that really means. Okay, so this is the actual excerpt from the book. The previous was just the introduction that I wrote later. So this is what I wrote. You have seen me write about being initiated into a divine unity of all life but the dark goddess, the soul. Well, there is a delightful example of initiation by the deep feminine into her mysteries in the Homeric story, the Odyssey. Okay. So this is the Odyssey. It's obviously called Odyssey because it's the hero of the story is Odysseus. Yeah. So, in the well-known myth, the dark goddess Circe initiates Odysseus into her mysteries twice. First, into our inner resources of the left-hand path of the heart, and then into our unity of all life, our divine nature. That's right, she initiates Odysseus twice. First, as I will explain in a moment, she sends Odysseus into the afterworld, into afterlife, to recover his own intuition. Yeah. And in this is portrayed by the image of a wise old man, the archetype of the wise old man that he has to recover. A seer. I'll explain in a moment. And then she sends him on another adventure to the island of her father, the sun, who represents that all in us, or the light that shines on everyone equally. Okay? So, the first mystic initiation is through meeting in the underworld with Tiresias, a blind seer. So this is the recovery of your own inner seer, your intuition. Before the journey can commence, you have to find this first. A blind seer to recover Odysseus' inner seer, as it were. To trust the inner resources of the intuitive side. For Tiresias, being a blind, only sees within. That's right. And this then is the vital ingredient for Odysseus to continue on the quest and to make it past the clashing rocks of the opposites. To trust his inner vision of the left-hand path of the heart. To trust his own intuition. So the Tiresias, he's also a mythological figure. He is blind, but he's because of his lack of outside vision, he gains the inner vision. You see, and this is what's required. Your whole attention needs to turn inward, intuitively, looking into what is happening within you. Okay, so that's where the journey begins, and Sarki sends him that way into the underworld. Odysseus needs to find this intuition first, but it is she, the intuition itself, Sarki, Goddess Sarki, or Divine Feminine, that makes that known to him, and this is how she does it. Okay. The goddess's instructions for the first journey are of the mystic type. That's right. Don't worry about anything. Don't have to ask directions. Just let go. Stop, stoop and flow. Trust your mystic vehicle of intuition and you will be swiftly taken there. And this is what she says. Odysseus asks, how shall I tread, Sarki, say, the dark descent, and who shall guide the way? Can living eyes behold the realms below? What bark to waft me, and what wind to blow? Thy fated road, the magic power replied. This is Sarki replying to Odysseus. Divine Odysseus, ask no more to guide. Rear but the mast, the spacious sail display. The northern winds shall wing thee on the way. But can you see it is poetry? Poetry is your intuitive mind. You could actually call intuition your poetic mind. That's why many of the mythological symbols and mythological stories are also called poetically, mythopoetic stories. Because the story of recovery of your soul, the story of the recovery of the inner self, is the story of recovery of the feminine or your intuition, the intuitive mind. It is the intuitive mind or soul that takes you there, and it is the prize as well. Yeah. So in this little excerpt from the story of Odysseus, this is actual excerpt from the poetry of that book, Odyssey. It is written in poetry, and here Odysseus asks, how do I get there? Who knows the way? How do you get into the underworld? And what does the goddess reply? She says, don't worry about it. Just start your journey and the way will appear. Didn't Rumi say, start walking and the way appears? That's exactly how that is. I know from my own personal experience, often I think or I'm planning on doing something and it doesn't work. The moment I start working on it, it's the moment I start intuitively doing something, working with symbols or reading a mythological book. The way just spontaneously appears, intuitively appears. I begin to underline words and words jump at me and things begin to happen. The way appears, It's like, how can I explain this to you? It's like following an invisible trace. That's what this is all about. It's like following the thread where the magic ball rolls, you follow the thread. That's what it is, and that's what this is saying. This is what the goddess says to him. Don't worry about it. Start, put up your sails. The wind, the northern wind will get you there. Start walking and the way appears. Okay? So here we go, a little more. Now, having returned from his first journey and recovered the inner seer, this is the Tiresias, he's gone, Odysseus is already gone into if you want to read the whole book, if you want to read the story, I recommend finding the Odyssey and reading how Odysseus traveled and how he met with Tiresias and how the Tiresias, the blind seer gave Odysseus directions on his further journey. So it is, you recover your intuition, and then intuition shows you the way to keep going. It's one clue and then another clue and then another clue. In the story of Odin, in the Norse mythology, Odin was hanging on the ash on the tree, and then he received the wisdom of runes. He falls off the tree, and he says in his own words, "Then I began to thrive. Then I began to grow." One word led to another word. One deed led to another deed. In other words, he also, after being looking into the abyss, looking within for a long time, he recovers the inner seer in himself. And then he begins to grow, begins to thrive. One word leads to another word. One deed leads to another deed. The intuitive way just opens up in front of you as soon as you start to walk, as soon as you start to take interest. As soon as you start to work intuitively, I'm having difficulty speaking today. As soon as you start working intuitively, the way just magically appears. Okay? So this is what I said about this. This is Odysseus has already returned. He's returned with his instructions from Tiresias. In other words, he's recovered his own inner seer. Now, having returned from the first journey and recovered the inner seer, the intuitive resources of the left-hand path of nature, the mystic vehicle of the heart, once again Odysseus is instructed by the dark goddess Circe that he is now ready for the ultimate initiation, to sail through the clashing rocks to the ultimate prize, which can only be navigated through when the two sides don't oppose each other, but worked together in balance, where the outer vision of the ego trusts the recovered inner vision, giving birth to the mystery third, the middle way of intuition that holds together the inner and the outer. The middle way, that is the eye of transcendence. The middle way is the Buddha's way. That's the middle way. Okay? Then Buddha means exactly the same thing. That's your intuitive self. The middle way, that is the eye of transcendence. The eye of transcendence, because you're transcending this world to the inner world. The door opens, the mystic door opens between the two, and you're transcending. You have made contact. The two are no longer opposed, but they're together. Which sits between the right and left eye of thinking and feeling. There's your opposites. There's the middle way that sits between the two. It balances the two. It sees both ways. That's why Odin, has one eye open, one eye closed. He looks inward with one eye and he looks out with the other. That's why he is the God that balances the two dimensions, the invisible of the spirit and the visible of humanity. That's why, in his other name, Wotan, Wednesday is named after Wotan. And Wednesday is the middle of the week. So you got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. See? It sits in the middle. That's why Wednesday is after Wotan, Odin, that mediates between the two dimensions. So you could say Monday and Tuesday is the ego way or the outside world, and Thursday and Friday is the inner world of the soul, of your inner dimension of your inner self. Friday is named after Freya, after the goddess, because it's the final destination. You see? if you like. This is your goal in life. It was Freya, by the way, that taught Odin Seder the magic of things, how to do magic. And magic is the ability to build the door, the mystic door between the two dimensions of the seeing and the seen and the unseen, you know, the phenomenal and the numinous. Okay. So, the opposite. Which Odysseus ship through the opposite, so the left eye and the right eye, between the right and the left eye of thinking and feeling, the opposites. Which Odysseus ship has to navigate through, transcend from dimension of time to the timeless dimension of eternity, to the ultimate vision, into eternal dimension of the collective unconscious. This is the way of this is the island of Sarki's son. Remember, this is actually a patriarchal myth. So the ultimate, the highest deity, you know, Sarki's father is the ultimate destination. The collective unconscious. Sark's father's isle of sun and recovery of the divine part, consciously knowing our oneness in the as the light of light. So this is your sun. But the ship, see, has to sail between the clashing rocks. I have spoken about the clashing rocks before. What's his name? There's another mythological Greek hero, I forget his name. He also had the Argonauts. He has to say that they have to sail through the clashing rocks to recover the golden fleece. You see, and the clashing rocks are just your opposites. You know, there's your left eye and the right eye. If there's no middle way, they will always clash together. But the middle way, you know, acts as a mediator between the two. And in the story of the Argonauts, the mediator is the dove that is sent out by Morpheus, the god of sleep or god of dreams. So there's your mysticism, the mystic way that mediates between the two, because it does, you know. So so in the same way with Odysseus, he has to sail his ship between the clashing rocks, between the opposites, to get to the Isle of the Sun, to the light of lights that we really are. Yeah? Okay. So this is my conclusion to this. What are we now? 17. Okay. This is my kind of conclusion to what I wrote. It was only after being initiated by the dark feminine in her inward mysteries of a unity of all life that Odysseus was finally ready to return home to his wife Penelope. That's right. That's the recovery of his feminine. But on an equal basis, not as a brute, as a dominator, but on an equal basis. I'll tell you in a minute why. Yeah, that's what I'm writing. Not as a dominator, a cutthroat warrior who thinks of women as nothing more than war booty and a womb for his sons, but as an equal partner in life. So, you know, the feminine is no longer rejected or suppressed or dominated, but because he recovers the feminine, the soul, the inner life, the intuitive mind, the poetic mind, it becomes his equal partner in life. From then on, you live with one foot grounded in the visible reality, the outside life, and the other firmly rooted in the invisible reality of the soul, of the spirit. The two, the rational mind and the intuitive mind, no longer clash like the clashing rocks, but together, partners, equal partners in life. So this is, he returns to his wife, to his feminine, after being initiated by Sarki, by the goddess, by the dark goddess. She's called the dark goddess because the feminine is called the dark feminine because the inner life, the mystic life, the life of dreams and visions and intuition is associated with the darkness of the night, with the moon. You see, the time of the night is when we sleep and we dream and we have access to these mysteries. The time of the daylight, of the sun, is associated with the rational mind. This, the Isle of the Sun, the Sarki's father, this is a patriarchal mythology. So the sun is higher than the moon. The sun is more worshipped, is more important than the nighttime of the moon. The rational mind is more important, you know, in Greek mythology and later in Roman mythology. The rational mind was far more important than the mystical mind, the intuitive mind, the time of the night, of the sleep, of the dreams. So he returns not as a cutthroat dominator, but as an equal partner in life. Thus, ready to live a balanced human life with one eye on the visible dimension of the masculine society and its time, while the other firmly gazing into the invisible of his recovered timeless feminine, the inner life of the mystery of the soul and her guidance, where life exists in modest harmony with nature. In the words of Goethe in Faust, the internal feminine draws us on. That's exactly right. That's what Goethe said in Faust. The eternal feminine draws us on. She guides us, and as she did Odysseus, as she did for me. It's exactly the same thing. I was initiated into her mysteries by my dreams, but what I saw in my dreams, in my visions, in my art, it was already there. You know, I wasn't even 20 years old. It was already there. It was earlier, 12, 13 years old when she arrived for the first time and sat on the side of my bed. And, you know, I was so frightened I couldn't turn around. I was facing the wall. I was so frightened I couldn't turn around, but I felt someone's hand on my shoulder and the words, "Oh, no matter what will happen to you, everything will be all right, so don't worry." It was already there. So it's always there, but you have to pay attention. Yeah? Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. The story of how Odysseus got initiated into the mysteries of life, in the light of lights that we all really are, the spark within us. And he made the journey all the way to the most inward center, and there found that he is a light of lights, like all of us, all interconnected. And this is within the story of Odyssey. Okay, I'll post a link to this little essay in the comments in below, so you can read it, and you can compare what I found to what is actually written in the Odyssey, in that part where he asks Sarki how to get there, and she says, "Don't worry, just start sailing and the way will appear." And remember, it's all written in poetry. So this is what we have to recover. The intuitive mind is the poetic mind, the creative mind. That's the feminine. Okay, that's the divine feminine that's missing in our over-rational society, where everything is just given to you from books or from lectures or from TV or your religious leaders, political leaders. They know all the answers. You don't. You have to listen. It's not true. You have all the answers within you, just like Odysseus found out that he had the answers within him, because the Odyssey is an inner quest. The war in Troy, that was an outer quest. That's why it's a war. When you go inward, you finally end the war, and you finally recover what you needed to recover. Your whole life is really all about. The recovery of your inner self, the soul. Okay? That's what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I'll see you on the next one.